that is nothing but the components which comes under the network is called network infrastructure. The name itself indicates that it is passive attack. That means the attacker is going to absorb the data. The traffic padding is nothing but inserting bogus data into the data traffic. Hello, hi, namaste. A warm welcome to my new session on network security. I am Revati, faculty, Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Before going to start my today's session, let me to recall the things what we have discussed in my previous session. In my previous session, we started with what is security. In that, we discussed different types of security attack. So, what is security attack here? Here, security attack is nothing but unwanted action on the digital asset is called security attack. In the security attack, we discussed three different types of attacks, that is integrity attack, then we discussed confidentiality attack, then we discussed availability attack. Under integrity attack, we are going to have four different types of attack. Those are the four different types of attack we discussed in my previous session. That is nothing but modification, then masquerading, then repudiation, then replay. So these are the four different types of attacks we learned under integrity attack. Then now tell me how to remember these four attacks. To remember these four attacks, you're going to have 2M, 2R. That means here I'm going to have the name which starts from M, that is letter M twice, that is modification and masquerading, and the two name which starts from the letter R twice, that is 2M and 2R. So here twice M nothing but your modification attack and masquerading attack, whereas 2R is nothing but repudiation attack and replay attack. Then we learned two different types of confidentiality attack, that is nothing but snooping attack and traffic analysis attack. So here under confidentiality attack, we learned two type of attack, that is nothing but snooping attack and traffic attack. And under availability attack, we discussed denial of service, that is nothing but DOS attack. So here under security attack, we are going to have three main types, that is integrity attack, confidentiality attack and availability attack. Under confidentiality attack, we are going to have two type of attack, that is snooping attack and traffic analysis. At the same time, under integrity attack, we are going to have 2M and 2R. So here I am going to have two different types of attack which starts from the letter M, that is nothing but modification attack and masquerading. Whereas once again I'm going to have reputation attack and replay attack. Under availability attack I'm going to have DOS attack, that is nothing but the denial of service. These are the certain type of attacks we discussed in my previous session. But in today's session we are going to study the different types of attacks like passive attack and active attack. That means what is active attack, what is passive attack, and how to differentiate active attack as well as passive attack. At the same time, we are going to study the different service mechanism we are going to have in the network security. So these are the two very important topics we are going to discuss in my today's session. Now, instead of wasting much of time, let's directly moving on to the what is network security attack. So here attack is nothing but the unwanted action which is carried out on the digital asset or nothing but the network asset. So what is network asset here? Here network asset is nothing but the software required to establish network connection as well as hardware required to establish network connection as well as the different kind of services required to establish network connection. So these are the three important components of network asset. So here a network attack can be defined as any method. That means the attacker may able to take any kind of method or they may take any kind of processes or means used to maliciously attempt to compromise network security. In the network security, we are going to have the third person. Your third person is nothing but the attacker or hacker or the intruder. And they can able to take their own methods. That means they can able to follow their own method to hack your network or hack your computer system. Then they can also have to take any process or means used to maliciously attempt to compromise network security. Then the network security is the process of preventing network attack. I repeat, here the network security is nothing but the precaution or rule used to prevent the network attacks across the given network infrastructure. So what is network infrastructure here? That is nothing but the components which comes under the network is called network infrastructure. So it may be a software component or it may be a hardware component or it may be any service required to establish network connection comes under network infrastructure. So here we are going to have two different types of attack, that is nothing but active attack and passive attack. Now tell me student, why the name is given like active attack and passive attack? In the active attack, the informations are modified. So student, just remember that in the active attack, the informations are modified. That means whatever the information you're going to transfer from one place to another, that is nothing but from sender to receiver. In middle, we are going to have the hacker. They are going to access the data and they are going to modify the data. So whatever the modification is going to carry out, those kind of attack is called active attack. So an active attack is a network exploit in which attacker attempts to make changes to data on the target or data en route to the target. So student, just remember that in the active attack, what the attacker will do? They are going to change the content. So what is changing? Here changing is nothing but the alteration or modification of data, and those kind of attack comes under active attack. So here they are going to change the data. To illustrate what is active attack, I'm going to consider this small example. So here I'm going to have the two authorized user, that is nothing but Alice and Bob. So here Alice is nothing but the sender and here Bob is nothing but the receiver. Here Alice is responsible for sending the message or data, where Bob is nothing but the user is going to receive the data which is sent from the Alice. So what the Alice will do? Alice is going to send some mail to the Bob. In middle, I'm going to have the attacker or hacker or intruder called Tom. So what he is going to do? He is going to modify the data and he is going to send the data to the Bob. So initially, what is the job of Alice? Here Alice is going to send some mail to the Bob, and whatever the mail he is going to send, that is in the form of plain text, and she is going to use the untrusted network. So in middle, I'm going to have the hacker called Tom. He is going to receive the message which is sent from Alice to Bob. After receiving, what is the job of the Tom here is? He is going to modify the data and is going to send that mail or data to the Bob. So this kind of attack itself called active attack. That means making changes in the data or modifying the data or altering the data itself called active attack. Then consider the example here. Here Alice wants to communicate to Bob, but they are far away from each other. So what the Alice will do? Alice is going to send some mail to the Bob via the network, which is not secure against attack. That means whatever the network she is going to use, that is not protected from the attacker. And there is another person called Tom who is on the same network as Alice and Bob. Now tell me, how many members are there in the network? That is 3. Who are the 3? That is Alice, Bob and Tom. Now as the data flow is open to everyone on the network, Tom alters some portion. That means when the data flow starts, then the Bob is going to alter some portion of the message. So as the data flow is open to everyone on that network, Tom alters some portion of an authorized message. So what is the job of the Tom here? He's going to modify some portion of an authorized message to produce unauthorized effect. Now consider the example here, that here Alice wants to send a mail that allow Bob to read confidential file X. But what the Tom will do is going to modify the data, that is allow Smith to read confidential file X. So this is the way the hacker can able to modify or alter the data. So here altering or changing data. So this kind of attack itself called active attack. Here active network attacks are often aggressive and that victims immediately became aware of when they occur. That means when the active attacks are happened, in the same way the victim came to know that there is something happened with the data. So the active attacks are aggressive in nature, so that the victim can very immediately came to know that there is something occur with the data. Then here active attacks are highly malicious and often locking out users, destroying memory or files, or forcefully gaining access to a target system or etc. That means here the active attacks are highly malicious in nature. That means it may destroy your file or memory or data, or they often lock your resources. So these are the some of the disadvantage of active attack. That is nothing but these are the some of the problems we are going to face when the active attack is happened. Moving further, I'm going to have passive attack. So the name itself indicates that it is passive attack. That means the attacker is going to observe the data. That means they are not going to alter or they are not going to modify or change the data. So a passive attack is a network attack in which a system is monitored. So monitored means what? Continuously observing and sometimes scanned for open ports and vulnerabilities, but does not affect system resource. So in the passive attack, what the hackers are going to do, they are going to continuously observe or continuously monitoring the network as well as data, and they are not going to change the system resource. This kind of attack is called passive attack. So consider the example here. I'm going to have two parties, that is Alice and Bob, and they both are known each other and they are the trusted users. Now Alice want to send some data to the Bob and she's going to use untrusted network, and whatever the data or mail she is going to send, that is in the form of plain text. And in middle I'm going to have the hacker called Tom, and he's going to observe the traffic or system, or he's going to observe or he's going to monitor the system as well as network. So he can able to read the data by observing the pattern. This kind of attack is called passive attack. That means after monitoring or after observing whatever the information the attacker is going to get, those kind of attack is called passive attack. Now consider the example here that Alice sends an electronic mail to Bob via the untrusted network, where Tom, who is on the same network as Alice and Bob, monitors the data transfer. So, during the transformation of data, what is the job of monitor? He's going to continuously monitor or observe the data that is taking place between Alice and Bob. Suppose Alice sends some sensitive data like bank account details, which is in the form of plain text. So what Alice will do? She is going to send some bank details which is in the form of plain text, and to send the bank details, what she is going to use? She is going to use untrusted network. So Tom can easily access the data and use the data for malicious purpose. That means once the Tom reads the data, then he can able to use those data for his malicious purpose. So the purpose of massive attack is to gain the access to the computer system. So why I required passive attack? It is mainly used to gain the access to the computer system or network, that to collect data without detection. So once the passive attack is happened, the user is unaware of the attack. That means they does not came to know, or they does not idea about the network has been happened. Later the user came to know that the attack has been happened. So this kind of attack is called passive attack. So dear student, till now we discussed what is active attack and what is passive attack. Now tell me the difference between active attack and passive attack. Now consider the characteristics. Here is modification. So what is the key characteristics? That is modification. So modification of data which comes under active attack. And if I consider passive attack, so it is monitoring. So monitoring or observing the data which is flows on the network. So this is the first difference. Then dangerous. So what kind of dangerous? Here I'm going to have integrity attack and availability attack. So in the integrity attack and in the availability attack, we can able to see the modification of data. If I consider passive attack, then what is dangerous there? That is nothing but the confidentiality attack. Then write some of the example for active attack. That is nothing but 2M and 2R and DOS. So what is 2M? That is nothing but modification and masquerading. Then what is 2R? That is nothing but repudiation as well as replay and denial of service. Then if I consider the confidentiality attack, that is nothing but snooping attack and traffic analysis are the example for passive attack. Then once the active attack is carried out or happened, then the user came to know very immediately. But in the passive attack, user does not have any idea about the attack has been happened. So these are the some of the difference between active attack as well as passive attack. Moving further, I'm going to have security mechanism. Till now, we were discussing about security attack. Now, I am very much familiar about the attack, but now I want to prevent my network assets from the attacker. To that, I required some kind of services as well as some kind of mechanism, and that can be provided with the help of ITUT. So what is ITUT? Here it is International Telecommunication Union, and telecommunication standard provides the standard called X.800, which is mainly used to provide the security mechanism against security attack. So here the security mechanism is nothing but a process of detecting, preventing and recover from the security attack. That means you're going to take some precautionary measurement against security attack, or you're going to take some precautionary measurement against the recovery after happening security attack, etc. So it is nothing but the process of designed to detect, prevent and recover the network attack. So here ITUT, that is International Telecommunication Union telecommunication standard. So what is the standard name here? That is nothing but X.800 recommends some security mechanisms to provide the security services. That means to provide the security services, I'm going to have the standard called X.800, and it provides recommendation to network as well as OSI references. Moving further, let's see what are the different kinds of security mechanism I'm going to have. So here I'm going to have total 8 different kinds of security mechanism. That is nothing but encipherment, data integrity, digital signature, then authentication, that is authentication exchange, traffic padding, routing control, notarization as well as access control. So dear student, just remember that this is the very important question from the examination point of view. That is, explain security mechanism. So what you want to write? Here you want to write 8 point. Along with that, you want to write the explanation. So what is the first mechanism I'm going to have? That is nothing but encipherment. Then I'm going to have data integrity, digital signature, authentication exchange, traffic padding, routing control, notarization as well as access control. And let's discuss these mechanisms one by one in detail. Moving forward, I'm going to have encipherment. So what is encipherment? Suppose if I want to mask or convert the data what I have, that can be achieved with the help of encipherment. So here encipherment is nothing but the hiding or converting data to provide data confidentiality. So what is data confidentiality? That is nothing but privacy. To provide privacy, what I required or what I want to do, here I want to hide or convert whatever the data I have into another form. Now it can also be used to complement other mechanism to provide other services. So what and when I'm going to use encipherment? When I want to convert or hide the data from one type to another. And which are the two different types of encipherment I'm going to have? That is nothing but cryptography and steganography. Anyway, in my upcoming classes, we are going to study in depth about what is steganography as well as cryptography. But in today's class, what you want to know, that is, here I am going to have two types of encipherment technique, that is nothing but cryptography as well as steganography. Then I'm going to have data integrity. So what is data integrity? So whatever the data I have, that is reliable or real or accurate. To ensure that, I'm going to have data integrity. So data integrity mechanism appends to the data to short checksum value. So to provide the data integrity, what I will do, I'm going to provide some checksum value along with data and checksum value. I'm going to send the data, and in the receiver side, the receiver is going to validate the checksum, and if the validated checksum and calculated checksum value are same, then that indicates that data is real. That means the data does not modified. So to provide checksum value, once again I'm going to have hash function. That means I'm going to use hash function to generate checksum value. So how I'm going to validate data integrity? So along with data, I'm going to send the checksum value. So this is the way I can able to validate my data is accurate or reliable or real. Now another type, that is authentication exchange. So what is authentication here? How I can able to provide the authentication? So an authentication exchange is nothing but the two party. So who is the two party? One is sender and one is receiver. They are going to exchange some message. So they are going to exchange some message between them in order to prove their identity to each other. For example, one entity can prove that she knows some secret of other entity. It may be in the form of some code words or password, etc. So here both the entities are going to prove themselves that they are the authorized or authenticated user. Now I'm going to have traffic padding. So the traffic padding is nothing but inserting bogus data into the data traffic. So before going to transfer any data, what we want to do? We want to insert some bogus data to the traffic. Then in middle, we can able to send our actual data. So this is called traffic padding. Here traffic padding is nothing but inserting bogus data so that we can able to avoid the traffic analysis attack. So traffic padding means inserting some bogus data into the data traffic to thwart the adversary attempts to use the traffic analysis. That means, suppose if I want to avoid the traffic analysis attack, what we want to do? We want to insert some bogus data to the network traffic. And I'm going to have another type of mechanism, that is routing mechanism. Here we know that all the routing informations are stored in the routing table, and each time the routing is take place based on the shortest distance first algorithm. Instead of using same path again and again, what we want to do? We want to follow different route, because in the network, to reach from sender to receiver, they can able to follow any route. Instead of using same route again and again, what I can able to do? Here I can able to select different path each time. So here routing control is nothing but the selecting and continuously changing different available paths between sender as well as receiver. Then notarization. So what is notarization and why I required notarization here? We are very familiar with the attack repudiation. So what is repudiation? After sending the request to the receiver, the sender is going to deny that the sender does not send any request. Similarly, in the receiver side, after receiving the request or response, the receiver is going to deny that the sender does not send any request. So, this kind of attack is called repudiation attack. And to prove this kind of attack, we required one party, that is nothing but another person, that is nothing but third trusted party. So here notarization means selecting a third trusted party to control the communication between two entities. That is, think that here I am going to have the sender A and here I am going to have the sender B. So instead of communicating directly, I'm going to have another trusted party called C. Now what I will do, I'm going to send the data or whatever I have to C. From C, B is going to get, from B, C, and from C, B. So here C is the trusted third party and he or she is responsible for controlling communication between the two parties, that is nothing but sender as well as receiver. So here consider the example that the receiver can involve a trusted party to store the sender request. So what the receiver can able to do? They can able to use third party to store the sender request. And I required notarization mechanism to prevent repudiation attack. That means, suppose if I want to overcome repudiation attack, what I want to do? Obviously, I want to use notarization mechanism. Then I'm going to have access control. So what is access control? Why I required access control? Here, by using access control, you can able to restrict the user. That means only the authorized user, they can able to access the data or modify the data or view the data. Here, access control uses method to prove that a user has rights to the data. That means by using access control mechanism, the user can able to prove that they are going to have the rights to access the data or resources owned by the system. Example, they can have proofs like password as well as PIN. So here access control is nothing but the way used to restrict the access of data. Then I'm going to have digital signature. So what is digital signature? Why I require digital signature? So here digital signature is nothing but we are going to sign the document digitally in order to prove your identity. So here a digital signature is a means by which the sender can electrically sign the data and the receiver can electrically verify the signature. So here digital signature is nothing but I'm going to have the document and I'm going to sign the document digitally. But in the receiver side, what's going to happen? They're going to verify the data digitally. So this kind of data is also called digital signature. That means this is the way used to provide the security for your data. And to sign or to make digital signature, what I required? Once again, I required encipherment. So encipherment is nothing but the cryptography I required to make digital signature. So these are the total 8 mechanism we are going to have under security mechanism. And from the examination point of view, this is also a very important question. Dear student, in my today's session, we discussed what is active attack and what is passive attack. Along with that, we discussed the different types of active attack as well as passive attack. At the same time, we discussed the 8 different security mechanisms used to provide security for your data. Dear student, in my next session, I'm going to deal with network services. Under network services, once again, I'm going to deal with network service and network mechanism. And once again, I'm going to deal with different kinds of security services provided by X.800. So, dear students, this is all about today's session. Let's meet in the next session with some more information about security service. Until then, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.